The marketplace on the desert moon always smelled of dust, metal, and fear. But today the air felt heavier than usual. Jonas Hale walked through the narrow aisles with steady steps, pretending he didn't hear the cries, the arguments, or the low growls from cages. He had come only to buy engine parts for his ship. He didn't want trouble, didn't want to attract attention, and definitely didn't want to get involved in anything illegal. But trouble always had a strange way of finding humans, especially humans alone in places where humans rarely walked. He adjusted the strap of his old brown bag and checked the holographic list floating above his wristband. Just parts, nothing else. Then leave the moon and continue his delivery route. That was all he wanted. But as he passed a darker corner of the market, he felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. Something was wrong. Something was watching him. He tried to ignore the feeling and kept walking. The faster he finished, the better. The marketplace belonged mostly to species that used slaves, livestock, or workers with no rights. Humans were tolerated here only because they paid well and rarely caused problems. Jonas knew he should keep his head down. Then a whisper cut through the noise, soft but sharp, like someone calling directly into his bones. "Human." Jonas stopped. He didn't even mean to. His body just reacted. The whisper came again, weaker this time, almost fading. "Human, please, hold me, use me, just get me out of here." He turned his head slowly toward the sound. A row of cages sat against a metal wall, each one barely big enough for the beings inside. Most cages held creatures bred for meat or labor, large, heavy beings or small, frightened ones. But the last cage, the one in the corner, held someone different. A girl. She couldn't be more than 20. Her skin was a pale silver blue, her eyes huge and glowing softly, shaped like teardrops. She had thin markings down her arms that trembled when she breathed. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, and her body looked weak, but her eyes were alive with desperate intelligence. She held the cage bars tightly, her fingers thin but strong. Jonas took a slow breath. He knew he should walk away. He shouldn't involve himself. This moon was known for selling anything unwanted, and someone like her, someone who could speak, someone who seemed aware, was not supposed to be here. He stepped closer without meaning to. The girl swallowed hard. Her voice shook when she spoke again. "Please, not as meat, not as anything else. Just take me away. Use my knowledge, use my skills, anything. I can work, I can help, I can make myself useful. Just don't let them kill me." Jonas felt a cold anger rise in his chest. He hated marketplaces like this. Hated the idea of people being sold like animals. But humans alone on alien moons had very limited power. Still, he couldn't walk away from those eyes. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She blinked in surprise as if no one had asked her that in a long time. "Riala." A trader standing nearby turned sharply. He was a thick-scaled alien with 4 eyes and a cruel smile. "Human. If you want that one, price is low. Weak stock. Good for meat. Won't last long." Jonas clenched his jaw. "She's not meat." The alien laughed loudly. "Everything is meat if you know how to cook it." Riala flinched at the words. Jonas felt something inside him break. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't here to save the galaxy. He was just a man trying to do his job. But he couldn't pretend he didn't hear her begging for life. He stepped forward. "How much?" The alien blinked, surprised but pleased. "For you? 100 credits." That was nothing. That was the price of spare wires. Jonas hesitated only a moment. "Open the cage." The alien tapped a scanner. The magnetic lock clicked open. Riala didn't move at first. She looked up at Jonas as if waiting for confirmation. "You're safe with me," he said gently. "Come." She crawled out slowly, trying to stand but stumbling. Jonas caught her before she fell. Her body was cold, trembling violently. She looked terrified to even lean on him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm slowing you down." "You're fine," Jonas said. "Let's get out of here." The trader chuckled behind them. "Humans always waste money on broken things." Jonas didn't answer. He lifted Riala carefully, carrying her as if she weighed nothing. She buried her face against his chest, not out of affection, but because she didn't want anyone else in the marketplace to see her fear. He walked quickly toward the landing zone, ignoring every curious stare. Once they reached his ship, he lowered the ramp and stepped inside. The ship sealed behind them with a satisfying hiss. The moment the door closed, Riala collapsed to her knees, shaking. "Hey, hey," Jonas said, kneeling beside her. "You're safe now. No one here will hurt you." She covered her face with her hands. "You bought me. You must want something. Please tell me what to do. I'll help. I'll work. I'll learn anything. Just don't send me back." Jonas placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "I didn't buy you to own you. I bought you to save your life. You don't owe me anything." She stared at him, confusion and disbelief twisting her features. "Then, why?" she whispered. "Because no one deserves to be treated like that," he said simply. She lowered her eyes. "All my life, people said my kind has no worth. We are born weak, thin, frightened. We sense things we should not sense. Hunters see us as tools or food. I thought, this is normal." "It's not normal," Jonas said. "It's wrong." Riala looked around the ship, touching the metal walls lightly, as if she couldn't believe she was free to move. Jonas guided her to a small seat near the engine room. "Sit, I'll get water." He returned with a container and helped her drink slowly. Her hands shook too much to hold the cup. Her voice remained tiny. "Thank you, human. My name is Jonas." She nodded shyly. "Jonas, I will not cause trouble. If you want to leave me somewhere safe, I will go. If you want to use my abilities, I will try. I know routes, smells, energy paths. My people feel danger before it comes. This is why hunters want us." Jonas felt the weight of her words. He had heard legends about empathic species, beings who could sense emotional or energy patterns. They were rare, they were hunted, and she was one of them. "What happened to you?" he asked softly. Riala pulled her knees to her chest. "My village was taken. They said we were too small to defend ourselves. They sold us as livestock. I hid, I ran, I was caught. They brought me here. They said meat price was better than training someone like me." Jonas closed his eyes for a moment. He hated this galaxy sometimes. "You're not meat," he said firmly. "Not to me. Not ever." She looked at him as if those words were impossible. A soft alarm beeped on the control panel. Jonas glanced up. A tracking signal. Someone had marked his ship when he bought her. That meant trouble. He stood and checked the scanners quickly. "Riala, did anyone watch you closely in the marketplace?" Her breath caught. "The hunters," she whispered. "They knew I was here. They follow my kind. They think we can expose their crimes. They will come." Jonas nodded slowly. Of course they would. He turned to her. "You're not going back." "I'll protect you." "You will die," she said, her voice shaking. "Humans are strong, but not strong enough against them." Jonas gave a small smile. "You'd be surprised." He started preparing the ship for takeoff. Riala watched him, confused by his calmness. She didn't understand why he was risking himself for her. She whispered again, almost to herself, "Just get me out of here." Jonas placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I will. And no one will harm you again. Not while you're with me." The ship's engines roared to life. The desert moon trembled beneath them as the vessel lifted into the smoky sky. Riala looked out the window as the marketplace grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass, tears forming in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she felt something unfamiliar. Safety. Jonas glanced at her, noticing the way her breathing slowed. "We're heading far away from here. Somewhere they can't reach easily." Riala nodded, wiping her tears quickly. She didn't want to appear weak, but Jonas spoke softly. "It's okay to cry. You've been through too much." She looked down at her hands. "I still don't understand why you helped me." "Because you asked," Jonas said simply, "and because no one else did." She stared at him again, as if trying to understand a new language. Humans were strange to her, strong, loud, unpredictable, and yet gentle in moments she thought impossible. Jonas moved to the pilot seat as alarms continued blinking. The hunters were already tracking them. But Riala didn't notice the danger yet. She leaned back, wrapped in the blanket he'd given her, and let her eyes close. Her voice came out in a sleepy whisper. "Thank you for holding me, for taking me out of that place. I will help you in return, I promise." Jonas looked back at her peaceful face. He didn't save her expecting anything, but he already knew this girl was going to change his life, and the galaxy had no idea what storm was coming. Here is part 2, 1,500 words, written in simple English, third person, engaging, and violation-free, continuing directly from part 1. No headings, smooth storytelling, around 1,500 words. Riala slept for almost 4 hours, her body curled beneath the soft blanket Jonas had given her. She didn't move, didn't twitch, didn't even breathe loudly. It was a quiet sleep, the kind that came only after a long time living in fear. Jonas kept glancing back at her while he piloted the ship, checking the scanners again and again. The hunter's signal kept flickering on the screen, sometimes close, sometimes far. They were searching, following, adjusting their path every few minutes. Jonas knew what that meant. They had her scent, or they had her energy signature, or they simply knew the path she would take if she escaped. Hunters like them didn't give up. He set the ship on a safer route through scattered asteroid clusters. Riala stirred slightly at the engine shift, but she didn't wake. Jonas watched her for another moment. She looked fragile, like she could break from a strong wind. Yet the stories about her kind said they held powerful senses: danger, emotion, energy, even truth. Jonas didn't know how much of that was real, but he could already see she sensed fear quickly, almost too quickly. He turned back to the front deck, adjusting thrusters. The ship vibrated lightly as it entered a narrow passage between two massive drifting rocks. Jonas focused hard, weaving around sharp metal debris. Whoever built this path wanted it to keep unwanted visitors out. When the ship steadied, Jonas finally allowed himself a breath. He reached for a small metal cup on the console and took a sip of cold tea. His mind went back to Riala again. He hadn't meant to become responsible for someone. He hadn't meant to rescue anyone. But now she was here, asleep behind him, and he felt a strange certainty forming inside him. He couldn't abandon her. Not now. Not ever. A soft gasp broke the silence. Riala sat up quickly, clutching the blanket like she expected someone to tear it away. Her eyes darted around until they found Jonas. She breathed out slowly when she recognized him. "You're awake," he said, turning in his seat with a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. You're safe." She rubbed her eyes. I'm not used to sleeping without chains. I thought the dream would end." Jonas shook his head. "No chains here?" Riala lowered her gaze, pulling the blanket closer around her shoulders. Her voice remained small. "Did I sleep too long? Did I miss something important? I didn't mean—" Jonas raised a hand to stop her. "Riala, you're allowed to rest. You're not a tool. She blinked slowly at those words. I don't know how to live like that. You'll learn, he answered calmly. She looked out the viewing window. The asteroid field stretched in every direction, the dark rocks glowing in faint blue light from distant suns. Where are we? Somewhere no one usually goes. Hopefully it slows your hunters. Her heart skipped. They're following? Yes. Fear washed across her face. Then I should leave your ship. If I go alone, they'll chase only me. If I stay, they will kill you. Jonas leaned back, resting his arm on the chair. I already told you, you're not going anywhere alone. But you don't know what they can do, Riala whispered, gripping the blanket until her knuckles turned pale. Hunters like them. They catch empaths for a reason. We can sense too much. We expose lies. We see things others want to hide. They kill us because we reveal truth. Jonas listened carefully. So that's why they wanted you. Riala nodded slowly. They think my kind is dangerous, not because we fight, but because we know. Jonas's jaw tightened. You deserved protection, not a cage. Riala looked at him with wide eyes. No one has ever said that. My people always hide. We never ask for help. You did ask me, Jonas reminded her gently. Riala lowered her head again. I thought you would ignore me like everyone else. Jonas turned back toward the console. Well, I didn't. Riala stood slowly, unsteady at first, then walked toward the front deck. She moved with quiet, nervous steps, like she expected each part of the ship to reject her. When she reached Jonas's seat, she held on to the back of it lightly. Can I help? You said the hunters will find us. I want to be useful. Jonas looked at her hands gripping the seat. She wanted so badly not to be a burden. If you want to help, sit here, he said, pointing to the co-pilot chair. Tell me if you feel anything unusual. Any danger? Any shift in energy? Riala nodded and sat down carefully. The moment she touched the seat, she inhaled sharply, as if something in the air startled her. Jonas noticed. What is it? Riala closed her eyes. I feel something heavy behind us, far but growing. It's like footsteps in the sky, big footsteps. Jonas checked the scanner. A faint blinking light appeared at the edge. The hunters. She sensed them before the computer did. He exhaled. You're good. I'm scared, Riala said honestly. But I feel clearer now that I have a purpose. Jonas straightened. Then help me keep us alive. Riala nodded quickly, her silver-blue eyes brightening a little. The ship entered another narrow path between drifting rocks. Jonas maneuvered carefully, and Riala watched every movement. Sometimes she gasped softly. Sometimes she leaned forward, but she didn't panic. Instead, she whispered directions more than once. Left. A little. The air feels tight there. Slow down. Something sharp ahead. Go now. The path opens. She wasn't guessing. She truly felt something. Jonas trusted her more with every passing minute. Half an hour later, they finally cleared the asteroid field. The stars expanded ahead, peaceful and bright. Riala sighed softly. It's beautiful. Jonas nodded. Yeah, it is. Her eyes softened. I've never seen the stars from inside a ship, only through bars. Jonas looked at her gently. You're free now. She bit her lip. Free. It feels heavy. I don't know where to go. Jonas thought for a moment. You don't need to decide today. Stay with me until you're ready. Riala turned slightly toward him, her voice small but steady. Thank you, Jonas. The moment felt quiet, warm, almost peaceful, until the alarm screamed. Jonas jolted forward. Riala grabbed the armrests. Red lights washed over the deck as the screen flashed an incoming alert. Riala gasped. They found us! Yes, Jonas said, flipping switches rapidly. They cut across the field faster than I hoped. A massive shadow appeared behind their ship on the viewing screen. A large hunter vessel with claw-like engines and a sharp blade-shaped hull. Riala squeezed her eyes shut for a moment as fear crawled up her spine. "They won't let me live," she whispered. "If they catch us, they'll erase you too, so no one knows you helped me." Jonas grit his teeth. "I'm not giving you up." The hunter ship broadcast a message. A low, growling voice filled the deck. "Human vessel, return the empath. This is your only warning." Riala trembled violently. "Jonas, please. They will destroy us. You don't have to die for me." Jonas didn't look away from the controls. "I'm not dying, and neither are you." He angled the ship sharply downward, engines roaring. Riala held onto the chair as the ship trembled from the sudden dive. The hunter vessel shot a beam of light past them, barely missing. Riala covered her mouth. "They're targeting you because of me." "No," Jonas said firmly. "They're targeting you because they're cowards." She blinked at him. "Cowards?" "They hunt the weak," Jonas said. "That makes them cowards." Riala stared at him like no one had ever said such a thing to her. Another blast shook the ship. Jonas steadied the controls. "Riala, I need your senses. Tell me if they shift position." She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Her markings glowed faintly. "I feel movement on the right. They're trying to flank us." Jonas swung the ship left instantly. A hunter beam shot through the empty space they had just moved from. "Good," he said. "Keep going." Riala focused harder. "Another on the top. They're climbing." Jonas dropped the ship lower. The hunters lost aim for a moment. Riala gasped again. "3 more behind them. More hunters join." Jonas muttered something under his breath. "Busy day." Riala clutched her chest, her heart beat loud in her ears. "Jonas, you can still escape if you leave me somewhere." "No, but no," Jonas repeated, calm and absolute. "I protect the people with me. That includes you." Riala stared at him, tears forming again. Not from fear, but from something else. She didn't have a name for it yet. The hunters fired again, shaking the ship. Jonas maneuvered sharply, pushing engines to maximum. He had a plan, but it was risky. Riala sensed the intention before he even said it. "You're heading for the abandoned outpost." "Yes." "They will corner us." "They might," Jonas said. "Or we might survive." Riala looked at him with quiet awe. "Humans are very strange." Jonas gave a small smirk. "You'll get used to it." As the ship blasted toward the dark, distant outpost floating in the shadows of a broken moon, Riala whispered to herself, trying to stay calm, trying to believe in someone for the first time. Jonas didn't look back, but he heard her voice. "Please, keep me safe. I will help you. I promise." And the hunters closed in, unaware that the girl they wanted so badly was about tea.